We are beginning with slide 18 from the chapter 1 part A. So chapter 1A PowerPoint slides. On slide 18 you have a diagram here that shows one example of interrelationships among body organ systems. So if we start with the digestive system, the function of the digestive system is to take in nutrients by eating or ingestion, break down the nutrients, which is the part that we call digestion, and then eliminate unabsorbed matter, which is defecation, eliminating feces. So that is the role of the digestive system, and the cardiovascular system is tied into that because the nutrients that are broken down, the food molecules that are broken down into nutrients like glucose and amino acids are absorbed into our blood, and then our cardiovascular system through our blood vessels and our capillaries transports those nutrients to the cells of our body, because all of our body cells are going to need those nutrients. The respiratory system is tied in because in order for those nutrients to be broken down and converted into ATP for energy, that process is called cellular respiration, oxygen is needed. So the respiratory system brings oxygen through our bloodstream to all of the cells of our body. So the respiratory system is bringing in oxygen, the digestive system is bringing in nutrients, and our cells get those components, get those substances by our capillaries, which are the smallest blood vessels. And then they're able to use those chemicals to in cellular respiration to produce energy. And then the urinary system is tied in because there are waste products that are produced by all of these different chemical reactions that are going on. And those waste products have to be eliminated. So that's the urinary system. And then the integumentary system protects the body as a whole from the external environment so that our internal body systems are able to do their job. So this is just one example. There's many, many, many examples of how the different body systems are interrelated. When we get to Bio 169, there's a very close association between the cardiovascular system and the urinary system, between kidney function and blood pressure. So blood pressure and blood volume. So anyway, there's going to be examples, but for now, I want you to know the names of the 11 organ systems and just some general information. Here you see the integumentary system, which is the skin, hair, nails, and glands like the sweat and oil glands. And you also have sensory receptors, nerve receptors for pain, pressure, temperature. Well, I shouldn't say temperature. Heat and cold is more correct to say. Our skin, our integumentary system, through our skin synthesizes vitamin D. So the function is to form the external body covering and protect deeper tissues from injury. Again, it includes the skin, hair, nails, and some of the glands like sweat and oil glands. And then we move on to the skeletal system, which the function would be protect and support body organs, like for example, the rib cage protects the heart and the lungs, the skull protects the brain. The bones also provide a framework for the muscles so that they can cause movement, because the muscles have to have something. They have to have a lever to push against when they contract. And the bones form our blood cells. Our blood cells are formed within the red bone marrow, and bones store minerals like fats and calcium. So that's the skeletal system. And then we have the muscular system, which allows the manipulation of the environment, locomotion or movement, walking, facial expression. Muscles maintain posture and they produce heat. So when we do focus on the muscular system, our focus will be on skeletal muscles, There are two other types of muscle cells, and they are cardiac and smooth muscle cells, and we'll cover those, but mostly we'll cover them within other chapters. We'll focus, when we do the muscular system, we'll focus on the skeletal muscles. Okay, so that's the muscular system. The nervous system is the fast-acting control system of the body. It includes the brain, the spinal cord, and the nerves. It responds to internal and external changes by activating the appropriate muscles and glands and organs. Here we're looking at the components of the endocrine system. The endocrine system produces hormones, and the hormones they're released through our bloodstream. They regulate processes such as growth, reproduction, and nutrient use or metabolism by body cells. The endocrine system is the second control system, but it is not a fast acting. It is a slower acting, longer lasting control system as compared to the nervous system. And then the components you may not be as familiar with. So within the brain, we have the pineal gland and the pituitary gland. Then we have in the neck region or cervical region, we have the thyroid gland. The thymus is in our chest. And then, of course, you have the pancreas, and you have the adrenal glands, which sit on top of each kidney. And then in the male reproductive system and endocrine system, there are the testes, and in the female, there are the ovaries. And this is an example of where two body systems kind of overlap, because the reproductive system of the male and the female overlaps with the endocrine system as far as the organs that produce hormones and that kind of thing. So anyway, the main thing is that you know the name of the endocrine system, and that you know the briefly description of it and the organs and glands that are part of it. Okay, so that one may not be as familiar, so that's why I spent a little more time on it. Now, the cardiovascular system, cardio refers to heart, vascular refers to blood vessels, and then it also includes the blood. We'll learn about the heart, the blood vessels, and the blood when we cover the cardiovascular system. And of course, the function is to transport oxygen, carbon dioxide, nutrients, waste, hormones, and other components, other substances throughout the body. The lymphatic system, which includes the immune system, consists of the red bone marrow, the thymus. These are the two primary, what they call the primary lymphoid organs or lymphatic organs. Then you have lymphatic vessels, which they're similar to blood vessels, except they don't carry blood, they carry lymph, a fluid called lymph. The spleen and lymph nodes. So the function is to pick up fluid leaked from blood vessels and return it to the blood, and dispose of debris. It houses the white blood cells called lymphocytes. And then the immune system and the lymphatic system are all tied in together. So moving on to the respiratory system, the respiratory tract goes from your nasal cavity through your trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, and then the air sacs of the lungs, which are called alveoli. So the function is to supply the blood with oxygen and remove carbon dioxide. The digestive system, we have already covered it, but the digestive tract or GI tract begins with the oral cavity. Food travels through the pharynx or the throat into the esophagus, and then the stomach, the small intestine, large intestine, rectum, and anus. And then there are accessory organs of digestion, the liver, the gallbladder. This is this small little green structure here. And the pancreas is also involved, produces digestive enzymes and other components. that aid in digestion. So the function of the digestive system is to break down food into absorbable units that enter the blood, and then to get rid of non-digestible or indigestible food. Then we have the urinary system, which begins at the kidneys, then filters the blood, produces urine, and the urine travels through these tubes called ureters into the urinary bladder, and then into the urethra and out of the body. The function is to eliminate nitrogenous waste like urea from the body and to regulate water, electrolyte, and the acid-base balance of the blood. And then we have the male reproductive and female reproductive systems. So if you look at it as both of those systems, then the humans have 12 body systems, but it's really 11 because the 11th system, the reproductive system, is either the male or the female, depending on the sex, the gender of the person. So in the male reproductive system, we have the testes that produce testosterone and sperm, and then other structures like the penis, the scrotum, the ductus deferens or vas deferens, the prostate gland. These are part of the male reproductive system. And the two primary functions would be to produce offspring, and also, so the male reproductive system would be to fertilize eggs, and then also to produce what we call the male secondary sex characteristics. So the characteristics that kind of define, a male's maleness, I guess you would say. So a deeper voice, larger muscles, stronger muscles, usually just taller in general, larger body, larger bones, more body hair. There's just all the things that you associate with male secondary sex characteristics. So that's the male reproductive system. Then we have the female reproductive system, which involves the mammary glands, the ovaries, produce estrogen and progesterone, the uterus, uterine tube or fallopian tube, the vagina. These are all components of the female reproductive system, which is designed to produce the eggs and to carry the baby, while it's an embryo and a fetus, while it's in the womb or the uterus, and also contribute to the female secondary sex characteristics and processes like menstruation, ovulation, all of that. Okay, so make sure you know the name of the 11 organ systems and just be able to generally describe them and the primary components of each one. Now, this next slide, we're talking about survival needs of humans. So humans need nutrients, oxygen, water, a normal body temperature, and appropriate atmospheric pressure. For nutrients, humans need a combination of carbohydrates, which is primarily for a quick energy, proteins, fats, which are more for long-term or energy storage, and minerals and vitamins. And then humans need oxygen. The body can survive only a few minutes without oxygen. Water, which is the most abundant chemical in the body. It provides the watery environment needed for chemical reactions. Water is the fluid base for what we call tissue fluid or interstitial fluid, extracellular fluid. It's just the fluid outside of your cells. It's the fluid base for your blood plasma, which is the fluid that your red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets are surrounded by. The fluid component of the blood. Water is the fluid base for lymph, which is found within your lymphatic system. And then, of course, your cytosol, which is found in the cytoplasm, the inside of your cells, is composed of a fluid-based, a watery-based solution. Humans have to have a normal body temperature, which means it can be within a range, but it has to be, it can't go too low or too high. So if the body temperature falls below or goes above 37 degrees Celsius, which corresponds to 98.6 Fahrenheit, the rates of chemical reactions are affected. Okay, I'm sorry, I got a phone call, but as you know, like your temperature, your body temperature can drop a few degrees and it can rise a few degrees without it being dangerous. But if it goes too far below or too far above that set point, 37 degrees Celsius, your rates of your chemical reactions are affected. It can actually stop some of the enzymes that carry out these chemical, or that speed up these chemical reactions. It can denature them, and so your systems can start to shut down. So normal body temperature is a survival need. Appropriate atmospheric pressure is a survival need. Specific pressure of the air is needed for adequate breathing and gas exchange in the lungs, and that's the reason it's, you know, more difficult whenever, like if you hike into a, if you hike up to very high levels, you know, then the atmospheric pressure is lower, and so it can affect your breathing, and your body systems can be affected. Our next section is on homeostasis. Basically, all of the 11 body systems function to work together to maintain homeostasis, which is the maintenance of relatively stable internal conditions despite continuous changes in the environment. So in our next recording, we'll learn about how our body regulates homeostasis through negative feedback and positive feedback.